broken man, staring death in the face. All my mistakes have got a hold on me again. Here we go, another day, another fork in the road. I never know who to trust. Will someone just tell me which way to go? And I need a sign, I need a miracle. I need to know that this is possible. I just failed so many times. Is there any way that I can make it right? God, if you're there, I need to hear you now. Come back to me, love, I forgive you. Oh, how I've missed you. Just know every time you run, I'll be right here waiting. This is no ordinary love. Listen up. This is no ordinary love. Listen up, this is unconditional. I'm so afraid to admit that you're real, 'cause I'm afraid of what I might feel when your words start to come to life. It brings my demons into the light, but I know you're here. I shiver as you whisper in my ear. Child, have no fear. Come back to me, love, I forgive you. Oh, how I miss you. Just know every time you run, I'll be right here waiting. Come back to me, love, and I hope you know I'm always with you, and I forgive you.
All right, welcome back to the Death by Tyranny podcast. We're on the funny mic today because I'm not sure if I'm going to stop this podcast and go to Instagram Live, because I know a lot more people over on Instagram that really know the subject matter that I want to get into. And it's more so not even like a subject matter. I'm kind of just asking for people's opinions. There's just a couple quick things that I wanted to talk about. So, I've ran into some pretty naive, stupid people the last couple of days, especially working multiple shifts at my job. I get, exposed to a lot more people than what I'm used to. I had somebody yesterday, and just a quick, maybe it's on my mind, and I didn't get to say it out loud, so I want to talk about it here. But I was talking to a young man. I say young man because he's 21. I'm 35 years old. So to me, he's fairly young. And in his opinion, so it's a Christian guy. I'm Christian as well myself. But I disagree with a lot of Christians. And to him, which is it's kind of funny because he says that he was a CO. And normally when you get people with some type of law enforcement background or corrections background, you don't have to try very hard as far as making the argument for why you should carry a gun. Maybe the assault weapon stuff, sometimes you might get into the nuances of that. But this kid just absolutely does not believe, you need a firearm. Because, the better place thereafter, he has no children, so he has no concept of protecting innocent life. And I'm not to say that all people without children don't have the concept to protect innocent life. Just apparently this young man failed to grasp that concept. And so we're arguing, and he goes, so you really think that people in the military with PTSD should be allowed to own firearms. For one, I think this is a very ignorant argument to even get into, because I think it is just the epitome, like the exact definition of hypocrisy, to tell someone that has gone overseas and in some cases died for our freedoms here, and then for them to come back home and everything that they've sacrificed, be able to tell them, I don't believe you should own a firearm. To me, that is just hypocrisy at its very finest. And he goes, well, what about Chris Kyle? He got killed by a soldier with PTSD. And I heard a pretty different take on that exact scenario with Chris Kyle. It wasn't that the young man with PTSD that served in the military shouldn't have been allowed to own a firearm. It's that maybe Chris Kyle didn't expect it, right? He wasn't on guard. And maybe if he would have been, that scenario wouldn't have played out. He was giving the young man the benefit of the doubt, thinking that it was his brother in arms, that nothing like that would happen, and it did, unfortunately. That's why you got to be on guard 24/7, always expect the unexpected, because when you don't, that's when shit like that happens. But getting back to the young man at work saying that soldiers with PTSD should not be allowed to own firearms, he gave one example. Now, the examples of military service members taking a firearm and committing murder in the States for no good reason other than they just snap is like 0.00007%. Now, the young man that I was talking to, I believe, is biracial, and he decided that he no longer wanted to talk about politics when I think he figured out that this is kind of my thing, right? I like talking about these things, and a lot of people get heated, and I don't necessarily get heated. I might get amped up a little bit, but that's because, like, this is what I do, right? I talk about firearm policy, the Second Amendment, tyranny. That's what the podcast is all about. So he kind of entered my arena. And so I never got to bring it up that if you want to make policy on 0.00007% of the population to say that a certain group of people must have their rights limited, you have to at least base it off of the statistics and the facts. And the statistics and the facts say that minorities commit more violent crimes with firearms than pretty much anybody else. So if you're going to take firearms away from military or ex-military, or I guess it doesn't really matter if they're enlisted or retired, then you would have to open the gambit to take those same liberties and rights away from minorities. Now, I'm sure this would have been controversial, and it's probably best that we didn't get into it at work. But regardless, the point still stands, right? So I just kind of wanted to get that out there for people who maybe have this kind of concept in their head. Active military members and ex or retired military members, you're anytime that you advocate that they lose rights because of their service, you're really, really close to opening a Pandora's box that you do not want to open. So maybe think before you bring up arguments that retarded. Now, moving past that, some of the things that you should be aware of that are going on. I know we're kind of pivoting away from this type of thing here at the Death by Tyranny podcast, but I feel I would be doing the entire country a disservice if I didn't mention it to as many people as possible. But an ATF officer was caught making illegal scans of FFL customers' information on her personal cell phone. This is highly illegal. This is one of the reasons that the ATF is being looked at to see if we need to abolish it. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't. no matter how much money they do or don't make, the control in the government right now will not allow the ATF to be abolished. Period. The end. Maybe if we get Trump back in there, maybe. But I seriously doubt that. You would have to have all the cards land perfectly. Now, is the ATF unconstitutional? Absolutely. But the government does all kinds of unconstitutional shit. Do you guys not remember COVID? All that. Unconstitutional. So just try not to get your hopes up, but be aware that the ATF is so ballsy that they are out in the open doing unconstitutional things that not only is just unconstitutional, but are the grounds for the people dismembering the ATF by their own hands. Like, oh shit. We'll get to that in a second. This is something our forefathers would have went to war with the ATF over. They are literally pushing their boundaries and going above and beyond their boundaries to fuck with the civilian population and their ability to own certain firearms and all this. And even in a day where we're getting court cases through the Supreme Court that are only making it as clear as we possibly can that the things that they are doing are unconstitutional. Now, in one of the hearings, there was I would imagine it might have been a CEO maybe of Ruger or a representative of Ruger, pretty high up guy. And I'm not one for like canceling shit or like saying we should like stop and try to dismantle a company. But just know a representative from Ruger said that they are not for the abolishment of the ATF. They actually support the ATF, and they work very closely with their regulators in the ATF. That's not good. You have a huge firearm manufacturer coming out on record in Congress saying that their team ATF, when other people are making the argument against the ATF because they're out doing shit like taking illegal scans of customers' information and making a fucking registry that is actually right there, you know, almost anywhere and everywhere you see anything about the Second Amendment, it says that they are not allowed to do this. And they're doing it. They don't care. And Ruger supports that. So for me, Ruger lost my business. Until they want to come back and recant that and make it, 2020 clear that they're going to do everything in their power to put more firearms and more rights in the hands of American civilians, I cannot support Ruger. So just know that going forward, Ruger is Team ATF, and Team ATF is 100% against the American people. Period. The end of story. All right? Now, I actually have to be at work in like little less than a half an hour, so I don't have a whole lot of time, but I will be going live on Instagram to show a couple of uppers that I have in front of me. I just want to see some opinions, more or less it's like aesthetics and like the cool factor, so it's not like a huge deal, but it involves finances to move some things around, and I want to get everybody's kind of perspective. Maybe they have a different view that I haven't thought of before I start tearing shit apart and putting it back together. As well as we're going to do a little mini review on a small FFL that's just right across the bridge from us over in Kentucky. So if you want to hear this little FFL review, kind of, sort of, and talk about some cool gun shit, I'll be starting that pretty much as soon as I end this here. We'll go live on Instagram. All right? So I guess I'll just see you guys over there. Like I said, I don't have a lot of time. I apologize, guys. Give me about 5 minutes to get set up, and then we'll start over on Instagram. With that, stay safe, stay prepared. I love you guys. God bless. America first. Peace, y'all.